Elena Voss was 39 years old. She possessed piercing hazel eyes that had mastered the art of concealing a profound sorrow, and a silhouette that defied the unforgiving, slender ideals imposed by the Boston aristocracy into which her lineage had inexorably drawn her. As a Latina woman from a storied lineage of industrial magnates, she commanded attention not through opulence, but through her understated grace and the manner in which she regarded others, as if each soul harbored a narrative deserving of undivided attention. Yet, in hushed whispers, the very circles that lauded her philanthropy dubbed her the plump phantom. Her husband, Victor Hale, was among the chief offenders. That crisp autumn morning, the Beacon Hill brownstone exuded the scent of blooming orchids and artisanal espresso. It marked Victor's birthday. The in-house culinary artist had crafted an exquisite breakfast spread, and Elena had meticulously selected vibrant lilies to grace the parlor. She had procured a bespoke Patek Philippe timepiece, one she knew he coveted, not for its precision in marking hours, but for the prestige it would gleam upon his cuff during press conferences. Victor, 5 years her senior, was a burgeoning corporate lobbyist, magnetic before crowds and glacial in seclusion. His stare resembled that of a predator, perpetually strategizing the ensuing strike. Their union had endured 8 years. No offspring, no indiscretions, no affection. Occasionally, Elena pondered whether the affection had ever materialized or if she had merely conjured it, akin to envisioning a seaside villa that remains forever unconstructed. At precisely 9:42 a.m., she descended the ornate banister clutching a sealed dossier. It certified a $75,000 contribution in Victor's honor to the Urban Youth Empowerment Network. She believed it might elicit a genuine grin from him. He relished the aura of benevolence. Even more, he savored bolstering his online persona. The breakfast nook stood vacant, yet murmurs drifted from the adjoining library. Out of ingrained caution, she halted and lingered immobile behind the marginally parted portal. Then it pierced her. "That bloated specter repulses me, darling," Victor chuckled. "I'm in it solely for her inheritance. Did you suppose I derived pleasure from betting her?" Elena's respiration ceased. Lydia Hale, her mother-in-law, betrayed no astonishment. Her retort came as if affirming an evident verity. "At minimum, feign it, Victor. Persist until you claim all that is hers. Thereafter, you comprehend your obligation. That creature's tenure in your existence is finite. Would you chain yourself to a form resembling a bloated sack, a confectionery piñata brimming with remorse?" They tittered with the levity of souls unburdened by remorse for their malice. Elena gulped convulsively. The dossier glided from her grasp soundlessly. Her countenance remained unaltered, though her limbs quivered faintly, as though existence had abruptly accelerated. She steadied herself. She retreated gradually, ascending the steps sans the clack of her stilettos, and softly latched her boudoir door as though naught had transpired. She refrained from weeping. She abstained from shrieking. She eschewed confrontation. That evening, they dined en famille. Elena proffered a radiant beam and presented his token. Victor acknowledged with a perfunctory peck upon her cheek and simulated delight. Lydia opined that the vintage was superb and proposed Elena experiment with an acquaintance's regimen. All chortled save Elena. She merely observed them with a composure rooted less in tranquility and more in scheming. Beyond midnight, Victor slumbered deeply in the master chamber whilst Elena padded unshod across the residence. She surveyed each nook. The canvases she had curated, the accoutrements sourced from Provence, the Steinway she had never mastered. Each artifact served as a mute observer to an existence that had never authentically belonged to her. It constituted a gallery fashioned to conform to a template that had asphyxiated her for epochs. In the den, she extracted vellum and inscribed with resolute script, "Gratitude for unveiling your authentic hues." She appended no moniker. She creased the missive, then ignited her tablet. Within 60 minutes, she liaised with a clandestine property agent and an overseas acquirer, diverting the preponderance of her patrimony to a nascent repository in Liechtenstein beneath an alternate persona. Having stewarded her clan's assets for decades, she discerned precisely how to relocate funds sans vestige. By 4 a.m., the brownstone receded into obscurity. No domestics beheld her egress. She bore merely a rucksack, an elongated duster, her travel document, and a snapshot of her 22-year-old self, when visions of global sojourns danced in her mind ere the Hale moniker metamorphosed her into an ornamental spouse. 90 minutes hence, Victor roused. He summoned his consort, perplexed by her void. He scoured the galley, the veranda, the lavatories. He encountered her solely as parchment upon the bolster. Gratitude for unveiling your authentic hues. He wadded the epistle, uncomprehending. He harbored no inkling she had eavesdropped upon the colloquy. He ascribed it to a petulant outburst, a foolish whim, sentimental folly. He dialed her mobile. It lay inert. He dispatched communiques. Silence prevailed. He telephoned his matriarch. Where resides Elena? Why inquire of me? She departed. She merely departed with an inscription. Gratitude for unveiling your authentic hues. What infernal connotation does that bear? Lydia sensed a tremor course through her inaugural instance. That identical diurnal, Victor unearthed that the domicile had transacted. The purchaser had remitted proceeds forthwith to the Liechtenstein vault. He possessed no ingress. Juridically, all pertained to Elena, inclusive of his attire. What Victor remained oblivious to was the impending media conflagration. The institution facilitating the conveyance had fortuitously divulged a communiqué to a fiscal correspondent probing Victor for malfeasance. Mere days elapsed ere the imbroglio assaulted nationwide broadcasts. Elena, conversely, perched upon a municipal omnibus en route to Harlem's Strivers' Row, a locale impervious to her renown. She gazed through the pane, her orbs serene, her lips a firm demarcation. She cradled her antiquated image within her coat's interior fold like a talisman, and for the premier occasion in annals, she inhaled unencumbered. She harbored no rigid itinerary or terminus, solely a singular intent, to recommence from a bastion where her valuation nullified, to unearth her veritable merit. Upon the vespertine bulletin, the presenter proclaimed, "The spouse of ascendant lobbyist Victor Hale has vanished." Speculations abound of domicile divestiture and fiscal depletion. Certain posit abduction, others matrimonial tumult. None discerned verity, save she. She cognized the veritable abduction encompassed her totality. She cognized that disdain masquerading as matrimony forfeited sanctuary in her realm. And she cognized that anon the cosmos would encounter a dame erstwhile termed a fortunate plumpling, yet now resolute to attest naught surpasses the potency of a female bereft of exigency for external elevation. None envisaged that beneath that taciturn beam lurked a verity vaster than any perfidy. Elena Voss had not absconded. She had roused. The omnibus progressed languidly along grit-laden avenues, the casements misted with clammy dawn vapor. Her rucksack reposed upon her knees. Within resided no baubles, no couture, no lavish elixirs, merely parchments, modest specie, a ledger brimming with utterances she penned when her bosom could scarce restrain the deluge. And that sepia-tinted relic of her juvenescence, her poised by the breakers with limbs extended as though dominion over creation inhered in her. Then, she had yet to cross paths with Victor. Then, she had yet to devolve into the refined umbra of a spurious existence. The conveyance halted with a rasp. The conductor pivoted sans fervor and uttered in a gravelly timbre, "Strivers' Row, terminus." Elena arose. None regarded her. None identified the figure who scarce 2 diurnals prior adorned glossies and benevolence galas. In this dominion, she transpired invisible. And for the inaugural juncture, it bestowed solace. Strivers' Row transpired not indigent. It transpired lacerated. The fissured exteriors narrated sagas of merciless equinoxes, fractured vows, and aspirations enduring akin to flora amid flagstones. Juveniles frolicked unshod in sullied pools. Dames brandished stoops whilst cradling progeny upon hips. A gent peddled jerkied fowl from a victual cart at the angle. An archaic transceiver belched perennial, poignant soul. Elena perambulated the lanes, scrutinizing each particularity with amalgam of trepidation and captivation. A affixed placard upon a portal snared her notice. Chamber for lease, communal lavatory, inquiries interdicted. She rapped upon the jamb. A septuagenarian with gnarled dermis and diminutive wary orbs emerged. Seeking aught? I beheld the edict. I seek lodging transiently. I tender advance remuneration. The dame appraised her crown to soul. A dissonance inhered. Excess poise. Dermis overly nurtured amid this milieu. Moniker. Elena faltered a moiety of an instant. Aria Thorn. Peculiar appellation. Enter. The cubicle's vacant, yet reimbursements denied, and I abhor perturbation. None from thee. The cubicle transpired compact with a singleton pallet, a whirring ventilator poised to plummet from the lintel, and a casement sans intact glazing. The partitions bore humidity's blight. It reeked of incarceration, yet to her, it evoked a haven. She dispersed for a lunation and ensconced. That nocturnal, she forewent lacrimation. She reclined upon the rigid pallet, shuttered her orbs, and permitted the hush its labor. The subsequent diurnal, she sauntered desultorily through the quarter. She proffered herself as a dame despoiled by pecuniary swindle, one bereft of all. It transpired no mendacity, albeit not for conjectured motives. They beheld her with commiseration, yet also a macabre inquisitiveness. She transpired novel. She transpired anomalous. She transpired yet another melancholic chronicle in a locale replete therewith. She attained a diminutive communal wellness outpost. The frontage flaked. Interiorly resided sundry corroded scrutiny slabs, fractured polymer seats, and an ad hoc admittance lectern of pasteboard crates. A dame contended with a juvenile regarding medicaments beyond means. Madam, I reiterated, that draft eludes us, and external procurement imperils authenticity. The virile timbre pertained to a lofty figure with tousled sable tresses. His cufflinks furled, and somber orbits beneath his orbs evinced insomniac vigils. His orbs bore melancholy's brand, yet his inflection firm yet cordial. Elena observed him fleetingly. He glimpsed her cursorily, then refocused upon the supplicant. Instruct thy progeny to persist. Though specie absents, we withhold no succor. We'll procure the draught anon. Upon conclusion, Elena neared. Art thou the healer? I am Julian Reyes. Dost thou require therapeutic intervention? Nay, I arrive to tender service. I harbor proficiency in administrative orchestration. Perchance I aid with stock-taking, synchronizing benefactions, suchlike. Julian perused her tacitly. A certitude laced her locution mismatched to her fable of forfeiture. He forewent indictment. He proffered his palm. Salutations. Aria. This locus craves auxiliaries o'er interrogatives. Thus commenced. In ensuing diurnals, Elena assimilated to pleat-begrimed linens, classify crates of lapsed provisions, and greet paltry benefactions manifesting as prodigies. None queried her provenance. Solely her present deeds signified. It transpired within that identical dispensary she encountered Mira. She spanned 7 annums, with lustreless tresses and vast obsidian orbs evincing precocious cognizance. She perched upon the scrutiny slab, her crown upon the shoulder of a benign-visaged senior. Ms. Rosa, she abstains alimentation for thrice diurnals. The dame intoned she harbors nocturnal pyrexia, and her dermis pales. Julian scrutinized her, mandated essays, then withdrew to the corridor and abutted the wainscot. His visage tautened. What ails? Elena queried. I divine lymphoma, yet essays necessitate, and that exact specie. Elena peered through the transom. Mira toyed with a limbless poppet, murmuring locutions softly as though confiding arcana. Ms. Rosa neared Elena post Julian's departure. Thou art not indigenous. Pardon, yet thy palms pristine, thy talons groomed, thy spine erect. Existence here inclines us earthward. Elena demurred. Fret not. I harbored confidences in juvenescence, too. I forjudge not. I merely aver that when a dame conceals, she must elect judiciously whom she permits scrutiny, for sundry orbs seek solely carnality, others the essence. Julian pertains to the latter. Elena inclined her crown, a constriction in her gorge. Bimensal lapsed. Elena amalgamated into the locus, not for erudition, but proffered. Temporal, audition, fidelity. She tended sanitation, adjunct, and cartage. Nocturnally, she inscribed in her ledger a locution reiterated, I ne'er allotted temporal to the indigent till I conjoined them. One auroral, whilst classifying dossiers in the compact chancery, the transceiver trilled. Julian responded routinely, yet his visage transmuted upon the moniker. Hail! Veritable! And the dossier endures? Elena fumbled a crate. He regarded her, uttered naught, yet noted her quiver. Art thou hale? He inquired. Yeah, mere vertigo. Julian resumed the colloquy, terminating tacitly. He explicated naught. He merely egressed to the posterior terrace for a tabac. Elena sensed her cardiac throb as though desirous of evasion. Hail! That appellation transpired a fusillade in her reminiscence, the reverberation of all she yearned to enter. Subsequently, she beheld him solitary. She neared. May I inquire the colloquy's essence? Julian demurred. It concerns a bygone supplicant. A dossier I deemed archived. They invoked a moniker unheeded in annals. Hail! Elena sensed frigidity. Dost thou ken him? She falsified as oft to subsist. Julian forewent persistence, yet his orbs appraised her as one commencing tessary assemblage. Elena forewent slumber that nocturnal. She sat upon her pallet, the rucksack agape, the image in palm, and the ledger gravid with utterances. She transpired no longer Elena, yet Arya Thorne commenced fishering. In this diversion of appellations, mendacities, and occult verities, she discerned not how protracted she might uphold the nascent existence she commenced edification. Sundry lesions cicatrize, others asphyxiate respiration, and the Hale moniker pertained to the latter. The query transpired not if Victor would unearth her. It transpired whether, upon unearthing, she would evince fortitude to confront, or recidivate into the occult incarceration she had striven to elude. Elena regarded her reflection in the fractured speculum of the communal lavatory as she abluated her visage. The fluid turbid and gelid, the soiled tessary mirrored an effigy she scarce acknowledged. Arya Thorne. That appellation had transmuted into panoply. She donned it with accruing facility, albeit a moiety quivered interiorly. Hebdomades elapsed languidly, yet an interior transmutation germinated. The modest regimen, the veritable humane liaison, the absence of semblances, all commenced to forge her cardiac, akin to pyre forges aureate. She no longer ruminated perpetually upon Victor. She forewent replaying that odious locution as a dirk embedded in reminiscence. Now she contemplated alterities. Myra's merriment, the lassitude in Julian's orbs, Ms. Rosa's intuitive regard, and an ideation burgeoning robustly to erect novelties from detritus, not for self, but for fellow dames exploited, maneuvered, and muted. Mira had transmuted her gravitational nexus. The juvenile adhered with absolute credence, as though awaiting her through eternities. They sported with tattered dolls, fabricated absurd chronicles, and imparted hushes eloquent beyond myriad locutions. Elena required not sanguine maternity to tactile that vinculum. Profundally, she cognized this transpired the affection existence thrice denied. Hast thou sensed invisibility, too? Mira interrogated one auroral as they limned upon the parquetry with chromatic chalk. Yeah, manifold junctures, Elena retorted sans profundity. Then we coalesce, the juvenile averred. For when mortals dread, they avert, and thou ceasest subsistence. Elena sensed constriction in gorge. She pondered how manifold junctures she had averted, immured in her opulent vesicle and semblances, how manifold she had feigned obliviousness to penury from her bulwarked conveyance. That culpability transpired a tacit, perennial concomitant. One sweltering post-meridian, the quarter suffused with melody. A communal bazaar orchestrated for fiscal accrual. Julian posited it as pretext for diversion. Yet Elena assumed command. She persuaded quarter dames to fabricate confections, artisania, woven vestments. She synchronized venues, tempora, indulgences. In scant diurnals, she transmuted pivotal. I discern not thy precedence, Aria. Ms. Rosa confided whilst kneading farinaceous. Yet thy present avails this locus. Elena beamed. She had ceased emendation when they invoked her nascent moniker. It transcended masquerade. It transpired a facsimile she craved veridical. Amid this modest renaissance, an unanticipated reminiscence surfaced. Julian discoursed with a matron regarding an archaic dossier. They invoked aught that inverted Elena's viscera. Lydia Hale. She transpired my sequestered supplicant, Julian annotated, oblivious Elena hearkened behind drapery. I transpired dismissed annals agone when I forewent veiling illicit drafts they dispensed to habituated supplicants. Her progeny, that lobbyist Victor, menaced to raise my vocation if I vocalized. Elena sensed pang. Her chronicle and Julian's had conjoined antecedent to encounter. Identical surname, identical malfeasance. The ambit constricted sans cognizance, or perchance destiny crueler than envisaged. That nocturnal, as the bazaar concluded, Elena ascended the edifice's roof wherein she resided. She contemplated the astral firmament, and for the premier postfugue, she permitted lacrimae flux. It transpired not melancholy. It transpired a acerbic amalgam of gratefulness and anguish. She subsisted. She transpired liberated. Yet Umbri endured uneradicable. Leagues distant, Victor Hale hurled his tumbler of bourbon contra his atelier wainscot. The vitreous sundered sans any daring regard. His lobbying crusade crumbled. Sundry patrons forsook. The Fourth Estate commenced suspicion. Correspondence trailed the suspect domicile alienation. Elena's vanishment had transmuted plenary imbroglio. Uncover her, he mandated the sequestered sleuth he enlisted. Indifferent methodology. I crave her restitution this submerges me. An ex-militant archetype with fatigued canine phiz, inclined impassively. He already harbored conduits, fiscal fluxes, telephonic nexuses, nebulous surveillance effigies. Solely temporal intervened. Meanwhile, Elena frequented an forsaken depository upon the quarter's periphery. None surveilled. None suspected she had clandestinely acquired the situs employing nascent persona. Her schema lucid. Metamorphose it into a bulwark for exploited dames. A veritable asylum with counselors, sustenance, domicile, juridical succor. A locus wherein similars might recommence sans mendacity regarding appellations. She inscribed all in a ponderous foliate ledger. Necessities, purveyors, fiscal conceptualizations. Julian aided sans profuse interrogatives. He no longer regarded with distrust, but proximate to veneration, albeit an ineluctable melancholy pulsed in his orbs. I forfeited my consort to undiagnosed pleurisy. He unburdened one nocturnal. Sequestered regimen slew her. Lavish sanatoria air, too. They merely veil adeptly. Elena hearkened sans locution. She cognized in modality he, too, fractured by putrid regimen. At the bazaar, Mira vended handmade filament talismans. Her beam outshone any boulevard luminary. She capered inter stalls with vigor. Ms. Rosa surveilled with fatigued yet felicitous orbs. All transpired fluid till the unanticipated transpired. Mira abruptly prostrated. Her corpus quivered fleetingly pre-stasis. A lacuna of sanguine emanated from her nostril. The hush instantaneous. Julian hasted to her, elevated in embraces, and clamored, "Mandates!" Elena pursued, scarce tactile her limbs. At the dispensary, they affixed venous conduit, extracted specimens, and administered air. The diagnosis assaulted with glacial aqueous vehemence. The lymphoma advanced, Julian intoned, his timbre fractured. "And we lack necessaries for remediation here." Elena clinched digits. No modality she would spectate. Not now. Not with this juvenile who restituted her anima. That nocturnal, whilst Mira slumbered pyretic, Elena unclasped her rucksack and inspected her ultimate reserve. A solitary bijou she had occulted with utmost vigilance, the soul unsold or forsaken. It transpired her ancestress's bezel with emerald valuing the quarter entirety. She clenched it in grasp and perambulated to the metropolis. The subsequent auroral she restituted with sealed dossier and scrip ample for inaugural remediation. None interrogated procurement. None availed droit. Yet Julian regarded with renovated orbs. They transpired not distrustful. They transpired certitudinal. "Thou arrivest not to occult," he averred. "Thou arrivest to reconstruct. And cognos what? Thou executest." Even anenst mendacity's respiration. Elena averted regard inaugural. She craved verity narration, veritable moniker, chronicle, totality. Yet forwent. Not yet. Mira from palate beamed with arid labia. "Forsake me not." "Ne'er," Elena retorted, grasping palm. The horologe persisted. Victor persisted pursuit, yet Elena transpired no longer the dame quiescent upon audition of repugnance. Now she transpired combatant, albeit dread respired posterior every beam, for mendacity's protracted engender autonomous vitality, and hers respired. The query transpired how protracted dominion, for when mendacity assimilates respiration, it assimilates lethality, too. Elena roused pre-soul, as nigh diurnal since adopting Aria Thorn. The ventilator droned incessantly, and the humid partitions seemed grayer eternally. She compressed palpably pre-full aperture. She craved evasion momentary of the verity gravid as sepulchre upon her pectoral. Mira persisted hospitalized, conjoined to medicaments scarce reigning lymphoma's advance. Every minimum transpired pugilism. Every juvenile beam transpired aegis contra despair. And anent procuring inaugural fawns via bijou alienation, she cognized insufficiency. The remediation protracted, brutal, exacting. Not solely pecuniary, but animastic. At the dispensary, Julian surveilled proximally. Her gesticulations, hushes, meticulous evasion of self-discourse. It transpired not solely veneration he tactile any more. A perturbing intuition interceded, as though perambulating a cartography he antecedent cognized, yet appellations effaced. He commenced suspicion her narrated fable transpired abbreviated, regimented, glossed. An interior averred profundity, much profundity beneath that melancholic composure. That auroral, whilst revising medicament stock in the compact extemporaneous pharmacopoeia, Julian dropped a non-accidental annotation. "Aria, sojourned thou abroad? Thou harborst inflection, neutral, erudite, anomalous here." She halted, deglutinated, cogitated rapidly. "I perused annals in Europa, then labored in Manhattan transiently. Hence occasional anomalous timbre." Julian inclined sans locution, yet dubiety in orbs profundend. Hours posterior, Elena frequented the forsaken depository wherein she commenced foundation schema. She sat in detritus upon ruptured crate and extracted ledger. She inscribed solitary locution. Dread transpired claustrum with ajar portals. She shuddered ledger and inhaled profoundly. Then footfalls posterior. She pivoted and Ms. Rosa materialized with farinaceous satchel in palm and acuate regard. I sought thee at dispensary. Mira interrogated thee, she intoned sans prelude. Elena arose, abrading palms. I merely inscribed particulars. I necessitate this locus operational pre-totality crumples. The senior posited farinaceous upon crate. Thou fleest not swindle or pecuniary ruin. I cognized inaugural. Not for locutions, but silences. Thou fleest not affection, cara. Solely dread. And thou, whom dreadst? The query suspended aerial akin dense fume. Elena craved retort, yet insufficient locutions for interior cargo. She merely mumbled, timbre choked. Me. The senior inclined. Sufficed. She forsook farinaceous satchel, tenderly caressed Elena's deltoid, and departed sans valediction. Meanwhile, in Manhattan, Victor Hale fixated upon his processor with restrained ire. Pre-orbs transpired at effigy captured by volunteer at Benevolence Bazaar in Strivers Row. In depiction, dames aggregated circa victual stall. In angle, nigh effaced yet ineluctable, transpired she, Elena. Victor's cardiac throbbed vehemently. He arose, hurled cathedra posterior, and clamored mandate aerial. Prepare conveyance. We proceed to Strivers Row. Trace hours posterior, his ebony SUV with obscured casements glided through grit avenues, clashing ambient. Mortals regarded distrustfully. Sundry yielded, others feigned obliviousness. Elena restituted from procuring ligatures for dispensary. She perambulated hastened when beheld conveyance halted pre-wellness nexus ingress. She petrified. Her abdomen plummeted. Her pectoral indurated. She would identify that vehicle en verso sans illumination. She cogitated not. She anatomized not. She pivoted upon heels and commenced contralateral perambulation, not capering, but rhythmic of fugitive sans semblant fugacity. She ducked into vicus, another, ascended modest acclivity, and occulted posterior ruptured wainscot till conveyance ignited and vanished from vista. He beheld not. Victor unearthed not, yet proximate. Excess proximate. She forewent slumber that nocturnal. Dread recidivated akin recidivous malady. She pondered how protracted sustaining this frangible fragment pre-totality crumbled. At dispensary, Mira awaited with lucent orbs. She proffered filament talisman rubicund. So thou forsakest not, the juvenile averred. Now thou ligatured to me. Elena genuflected pre-palate. She caressed frontal. Ligatured to thee, albeit unadorned. Art thou melancholic? Modicum. Quare. Thou salvaged my subsistence. Elena restrained lacrimae. Kia I discern not self-salvage. Julian, hearkening from ingress, tactile interior fracture. He countenanced incertitude no longer. This dame transpired not arbitrary. She harbored cicatrices mismatched to fabricated fable. That auroral, when all slumbered, Julian ingress compact chancery and ignited processor. He discerned not precisely sought till executed. He inscribed the moniker haunting post-aria thorn encounter, Elena Voss. The navigator restituted centenaries. Effigies at social galas, glossy porticos, tidings of vanishment, treatises upon enigmatic domicile alienation, lobbying imbroglios, and effigy that petrified. Identical beam, orbs, phys he assimilated recent mensa. Aria thorn transpired not. Masquerade. Mendacity. Yet all executed veridical. Succor, tenderness, devotion. This dame with bygone vitreous fracture salvaged vitas. She resuscitated propria, and now he cognized veritable. Elena Voss, vanished consort of the who dismissed, humiliated, devastated him. The ambit constricted. He reclined in cathedra, shuttered orbs. He countenanced pretense no longer, now decreed what with that verity. Kia the tariff of cognizance transpired potency to avert, and he forewent recidivation. Julian roused sans wink slumber. The effigy of Elena Voss upon lamina fixated mentis akin cauterium. Aria Thorn transpired not. He witnessed lesion remediation alierum whilst ferrying propria unbearably tacit. He cognized confrontation nullified perpetuity. Yet hush transpired modality of perfidy contra valorized verity. He unearthed her perched upon dispensary limen, ledger in palms. She inscribed not, solely upheld as equilibrium. Necessitamos colloquy, he intoned sans prelude. She elevated regard. Her regard evinced no stupor. Profundally she antecedent cognized his cognizance. Yeah, she retorted, languidly shuddering ledger. Temporal. They proceeded to depository, that vacant expanse tardily suffusing signification. Julian surveilled with continent expression of one poised to hurl lithus aqueous, cognizant ripples ineluctable. Quer mendacium? Elena abutted wainscot. Her timbre bass yet resolute. Kia if verity vocalized, they vena bunter. He unearth, reutilize. Et ego no longer fortitude for ornamental exhibit in vitreous sarcophagus. Elena Voss, Julian murmured as moniker lacerated oral. Consort of Victor Hale, hay race to nation's amplest patrimonies. Vanished, transmuted national arcana et fractidame. They inscribed not in porticos. Julian demete crown. She neared, regarding ocular. Mendacium not for ludi. Not for manipulation. Soli vita non legura. Et invenisti. Elena beamed melancholically. When mira cacanat, when thou discoursest sans expectatio, when I sonitate lesions sans came re, he hearkened, yet interior profuser than locutions, than judicium. Non ignava es, he finally averred. Fortis ad fugam, sed nunc fortis ad reditum. Reditum quo. Ad vocalization nominis. Ad confrontation. Ad reclamation proprium. Quia esse non illi, et omnia offrent iterum, ut semper. She regarded him diuturnally. Et aliquid in pectoral fisso. Meanwhile, in Boston, the Fourth Estate erupted porticos. An anonymous delation from Procurator's officium revealed documenta, audio, et fiscal fluxes legating Victor Hale et matrem Lydia ad casus pecuniae levationis, abusus publici fondi, et ambitus judicum. Victor clamored furently at advocati supra telephonum. Lydia demisit cubiculum not obi puter, sed obi timor. That auroral, an involucrum advenerit ad jambum sans remittentis. Interior copia mutati nativitatis certifici et epistola simpliciter lecta, veritas non delebilis. Lydia non indigbat amplius. The bygone she sepultavit taciturnitate redibat ad exactionem justicii. In acta desperationis, she executed quod non annis. She telephoned Julian. He accipit vocationem at dispensary. Her vox pene irrecognoscibilis. Julian, necessito colloquium. Solemn 2. Julian demuratus, sed accipit. He convenerat eam at discretum diversorium procul came re. Lydia inveteravit visibiliter in paucis hebdomadibus. She indubiter simpliciter sans fucus or annuli. Her orbs timidi et corpus incurvum as if trahens culpam anorum tandem nemis gravis. Non hic ad justificationem, she intoned sans regard. Scio quid feci, sed necessitas cognoscere aliquid. Victor non filius meus. Julian palpavit. Quid ace? Vir meus et ego numquam liberos gignera patuamus. Ego aggressa ob homini quum eram 18. Aculi. Simulavi legit imam matrem. Eduxi illum purum quasi non meminissum quomodo in mundum venit. Julian sensivit eram densum. Et numquam neravisti? Numquam. Usque nunc quia alfit alvir et non permittam. Fuit longum silentium. Tunc Lydia extraxit parvum pixidem. Interior photography, documenta, et involucrum sigillatum. Mira, illa puella, quid nomen matris? Mortua partu. Non inscripta in officialibus tabulis. Aspice diligenter. Illa puella possit neptis. Sunt coincidentia. Non certitudo, sed sunt dati detalia. Filius hominis cogressit impossit nunc habera filium, et illa filia cum illis erat. Julian decessit loco quasi portans cadaver. Non intellexit quomodo connectora omnes fragmenta, sed aliquid dispat veritas propius quam imaginavrit. That nocturnal, Elena expectabat eum at depository. She pergaverat, ordinavrit, distrahebiter. Sed videns phys, civit plus quam malum nuntium fere. Quid accidit? He narravit omnia de Lydia, de Victor, de possibilitate cum mira. Elena tacuit, tunc perambulavit ad fenestram et locuta sans regard. Habeo aliquid narrare, quoque. Julian deglutinavit. Quat egrota sum. Sclerosis lateralis amyotrophica, SLA. Diagnostica annus elapsus. Id quoque quaer fugi. Non volui mori circumdata hominibus catantum pluribunt de hereditate mea. Julian nescivit quid dicera. Habeo pausus annus, fortas mensibus si felix, sed volo tempus significare. Significabit, he retulit, orbs hum edi. Condimus illid fundamentum. Relinquimus aliquid perdurans etsi non hic es. She amplexus eum primum sans timor, quasi tactus anchorarit corpus ad turam mox deficere incipientum. Upon redditum ad cubiculum, Elena invenit involucrum cum nomini scripto cursivo. Apparut. Epistola erat. Recognovit scribendi ante lectionem. A matri erat. Elena, si legis hoc, significat me abiis. Nescio quantum damnum feci tibi. Tantum scio annos cum odram te quia iras omnia quae numquam esse patui. Quia pater tus amavit te plus quam me. Quia fulsisti sine nisu. Et ego iram tantum mulier cinerea capta in domo marmorea. Ignos mihi obi deritium, obi non protectionem, obi non narrationem te merari meliorem quam vir catantum te voluit pro nomini. Cibam a primo die, sed tacui ut semper. Haec epistola non excusatio. Confessio et precatio. Nali permittera emeritudinem meme vivere in te. Esto libera. Esto fortis. Et cum non perseverare poteris, nali occultar. Permit te curari, amari, sustentari, quia etsi non dices, et tumeraris salvari. Elena erupit in singultus anime motus, genus quod liberat annos catini invisibiles. Fundamentum non perfectum ad hoc. Victor ad hoc quirens. Diagnosis ad hoc in corpore. Sed that nocturnal, primum, dormivit sans timor quia veritas ladet. Yeah, sed etiam gelit. Et non amplius locum habebat ad mendacia portanda. Nunc tantum volbat edificare aliquid pre corpus sedit. Et faceret cum Julian, cum Mira, cum veritate ut sola hereditas. Opus in veter deposito perficit bimensem ante terminum. Manus quarteri unite quasi projectum semper eram. Virica vix legere poterant miscurant cementum cum precision chirurgi. Muliers ca annos doloris portabant pingibant parietes quasi levantes vulnera. Quisque later, quaelibet tegula saga tenuit. Saga quae usque tunc nemo audire voluit. Fundamentum aria thorn apparut annuas in ceremonia sans prensa, sans camere, sans vacui orations. Solemn tu curabint aude rant. Mira, comi iam tenuis ex chimiotherapia, portavit forfices ad vita secandi. Julian, orbs caligantes, tenuit manum alini dum profundum spiritum traxit, quasi quaelibet inspiratio actus resistentia contra mortem. Elena professorat Euridica charte hebdomadas anti. Omnes residuae res, rations, collocations, portions translati ad nomen fundamenti. Nullum unum gemma, nulla proprietas sub proprio nomini romancit. Omnia quae olum symbolum oppressionis furunt nunc erunt instrumentum salutis. Elena perambulavit lente per novos edificii androns, parietes albi, morales picti a pueris quarteri, vacui consultations expectans egros. Omnia commovebant profund. Locus ist non solemn structura. Erat legatum, redemptio. Dies posteros, in umbra anguli andronis, Lydia apparut. Nemo viderat adventum. Indubiter simpliciter sans fucus aut annuli. Orbs timidae et corpus incurvum quasi trahens culpam honorum tandem nemis gravis. Mira dormibat cum Lydia ingressa cubiculum. Sedit iuxta lectum et inept carpacit manum puelli. Murmuravit verbaque vitabanter dirigi magus ad esse quam ad puellum. Tunc decessit tacite, sed Elena expectabat extra. Cibam te venturum, she dixit. Lydia demi sit regardum. Non veni ad justificationem. Veni ad veniam potendum, non pro victor. Iam viam suam allegit. Veni ad veniam pro me, pro complici esse, pro tessera. Elena non locuta pluribus secundis. Et expectas me igniscere? Non. Tantum audimi. Tunc locere. Spectavi te evanescere annos. Facta es tam perfecta. Impossible videre te. Eras invisibilis. Elena. Invisibilis sicit ego tota vita. Ego quoque usitata, manipulata, coacta tessera. Et tu speculum meum. Id circo od ram te. Quiami recordabere omnium quae non auderum facera. Elena prop accessit, non ad amplexum, sed ad rectum regardum. Audio te, sed non ignosco quid mihi facisti. Ignosco quid tibi facisti. Lydia dimisit lacrimas quas decennium tenuerat. In television, Victor nuntium erat, non ut lobbyista, sed ut suspectus. Imago ius apparut inter porticos corruptionis, pecuniae levationis, et nexuum influentia pedendrum. Expulsus e faction. Phys non amplius vendibat risum. Vendidit scandalum. Et tunc, ut ultimum remedium, apparut ante fundamentum. Elena spectavit eum a secundo pavimento. Sinsit nec timorem nec iram. Sinsit aliquid frigidierem, compassionem melancholicum, sicit spectans hominum iam perditum. Expectavit eam in atrio. Tenuit capsam et vitabater senior quam anni transirent. Non veni ad pugnam, dixit ut primum vidit. Veni ad pactum. Nulli pacti tecum, she retulit calm. Habeo probations, documenta. Possum mergir te cum publica mendatio. Possum dicera ferrata, ficta venitianum ad omnia talenda. Iam feci. Tali omnia, sed non materialia. Recuperavi dignitatem quam amus eras annos. Prop accessit, regardans oculos. Vir putas hunc locum minus valir quam omnia quae habuisti? Non. Puto hunc locum solum rem valir quia potes retenir omnia materialia. Quot numquam habebis est pax. Victor gradum retraxit. Veritas percussit durius quam quaelibet comminatio. Et matri tui dic quat. Socialibus instrumentus, tunc in traditionalibus. Muliers emerunt tacite, communicavrant cum lacrimis in oculis, susurravrant de eo in conventibus quarteri, et analyserant in universitatibus. Fabula Eleni non tantum de conjuge prodita. De omni mulier quae umquam esse minus satis sensit. In colloquies, Julian apparut loci de projecto fundamenti. Numquam unum centum pro libro accipit. Omnes proventus dedicati ad crendas novas locations fundamenti aria thorn in aliis regionibus. Idea lucida. Nulla mulier debet evanescere ut iterum vivat. Mira fuit quae secundum locationum nominavit. Vocavit domum renatorum. Parva, modesta, sed plena vitae. Ipsa parietem pinxit cum frasi quam Elena reliquit in epistola. Permit mihi narrabis fabulum tuum. Et facit. Mira scripsit. Edidit librum purorum inspiratum ex experientis ubi puella parva monstrum die rum cineriorum visit cum risu et talismane rubicundo. Invitata ad nundinas librorum. Colloquia dedit. Semper de Elena locuta est quasi viva ad hoc, et pro ea erat. Julian perseveravit ut director medicus fundamenti. Errant dies cum pondus absentii ius insidebat super eum ut lapis. Sed omni quod facere oportabat gradum in hortum facere et vidir muliers redentes, pueros currents, voluntarios venientes cum enthusiasmo sire quod Elena vicerat, quod amor ius non mortis, quod legatum non sinus sed radix. Gir bat monale circa colum. Interior comes crenis quem didi rat ante mortem, cum nota, cum dubitas te, tange hoc. Hic pars me quae numquam dissedit. Numquam apparut in publico, solemn in noctibus solitaris cum silentium ladebat. Lydia quoque mutavit. Nemo creditit primo, ne ipsa cadem. Sed facit. Copit visitar domos mulierum vulnerabilium. Facta est voluntaria anonyma in centro victimarum abusus. Et maxime inopinato, donavit omnes possessions, portions, rations fundamento aria thorn. Decessit ab oculo publico. Nemo umquam audivit ab ea iterum. Quidem dicunt ad conventum ivit, alii ad alium regionem migravit. Veritas est quod nomen ius cessavit esse synonymum potestatis et factum umbra tacita quae non amplius aliquid regir quisivit. Victor pro part sua submersus. Omnia amisit. Fortunum. Famum. Socies. Conatus est etera memoir ad nomen purgandum, sed nemo emit. Evanuit in oblivionum, ut viri ca imperia tantum supermendatia edificavrant. Julian semel vidit eum in cafe civitatis solemn, perturbatum cum aspecta perdido. Non accessit. Nihil dixit. Tantum cogitavit de quo Elena scripserat in illa ultima epistola. Non amplius inimici. Nihil summus. Annus post mortem ius, fundamentum ordinavit ceremonium specialum in nomine ius. Homines venerant ex diversis locis. Muliers quae librum legerant, quae domos violentas fugerant, quae e negotiation humana irrepte furent, quae tacite sinavrant gratia fabuli ius. Locuti sunt voci alta, sans pudor, sans timor. Ad finem eventus, mulier microphone accipit et dixit, invisibilis eram usque dum fabulum ius legi. Elena non mortua. Evigilavit in me et in multis aliis. Julian oculos closet et risit. Dum decidabat, mira manum ius accipit. Putas nos vidit sessum? Dubito non. Est in te, in me, in omnibus. Somnio de illa interdum. Quid dicit ut scribum? Quot verba quoque sanant. Et mira scripsit fabulum suam, perpetuans umbras renominatas in nox aeternas, ubi muliers non evanescent, sed renascuntur.